Today's verse of the day, Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. You guys have to understand that God is always with you. God is with you on your good days and your worst days. He's there when you're happy. He's there when you're sad. He's there when you're depressed. He's there when you're energetic. He's there any given moment. And you have to understand that no matter how you may show up, God is going to always be there regardless of the way you feel. So understanding that and attacking and actually taking action on this understanding of this thing that God is always with you by talking to him and showing up and building a relationship with him and spirituality and making sure you're praying, making sure you're showing up in the word and the wisdom and the wise words that are taught in the book are ways to keep your relationship with God strong, and not only keep it strong, but build a reminder within yourself to continue to push forward as well, because there will be moments on your journey that will be difficult. There will be moments on your journey that you may not have the energy to continue to move forward or continue to pursue. And God is giving you these signs, but you're not understanding the signs because you haven't taken the time to read the word or to pray to him and ask him these questions to get understanding. And so make sure to just remember that God is always with you, no matter what it is that you're doing in life. And he will always wait for you in the seasons that you're not acknowledging of him. So even when you ignore God, he's still there. You have to understand that he's waiting, and he's a patient God, and he's an understanding God as well. And when you finally open that door to pursue him, and once you've pursued him, continue to pursue him. Don't stop after you start. Don't go back to the ways that you were doing prior to building your relationship with God. And even in the process of building, keep that as a reminder to stay disciplined in your journey and not relapse on the bad habits that you used to have. So these things are important to know, and also just to remind yourself for reassurance or recomforting words that will always remind you these things. With that being said, let's get to the charts. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back. Here we have the Monday charts loaded up on the SPY chart ticker symbol 5-minute time frame. So for Monday, we had an initial gap down in the market over the weekend after hearing some news and turbulence around the Iran war. And so we initially opened around 666, where we then saw initial reversals and rejections coming in at 667.58. From there, we pushed all the way back down to 662.39, and then we saw a reversal in the market going back up to the previous level of demand that turned into resistance on this day around that 670 to 671 level. And so we saw a retest come in around 10 o'clock at 669.92, which was where I was looking for it to go for me to take possible puts. However, I did get wicked out of this position on my first entry. I did catch it on the second entry, and then I took a profit once we reached back down to this bottom of this green box here, because I have this level boxed out as like a demand zone. So between 670 and 668 was pretty much a level of a zone of demand for me. And so essentially I took profits here on puts, and then I re-entered with calls, and I was able to catch the reversal back up to 670, and then we broke out above 670, and that's where we took off, going all the way back up to 672. Later in the day, we did see some rejections, but by that time I was already out of the market. But at the end of the day, we got a very aggressive push to the upside, almost reclaiming 680 and closing out the day right below 680, around 677 or 678, something like that. So pretty eventful day, pretty action-packed start to the week. We caught those two trades around that 670 and 668 levels. And so that was it for me on Monday. Let's move. All right, you guys, here we have the Tuesday chart loaded up on the Meta chart, ticker symbol META, 5-minute time frame. As you guys see here, we had a very wide range, ranging from 6 660 essentially all the way down to 649. And so initially we had some failure come into the market on this Tuesday. As you guys see, we tried to retest and reclaim 660, but we failed to get above 660. We rejected, going all the way back down to 649. However, once we reached 649, we then saw a reversal and a bounce back off of 649, going all the way back up to that same level of 660, which is where I looked to take a position. As I noticed we were reapproaching this level, I saw that we had failed it aggressively initially going into the open of the day. So I looked for a position here, and I got a position a little early, but in my mind, it was the right time to get it. And so we got a position here, but unfortunately we wicked us out due to this fake out here. And then it reversed right back down right after wicking me out. So I did end up missing out on this move to the downside. And yeah, it was pretty bad. But we were able to catch a re-entry after seeing this confirmed failure after retesting that level and failing to get back above it. So I did take a re-entry after seeing the failure. It didn't come in, but it didn't hit the same as my initial entry because the initial entry was just a better position. My contracts moved very, very weird. And so I didn't catch a lot of gains on this position on the second time around. My first position, the gains were a little bit better, but not too much. So the trade itself was good, but sometimes when you're trading, you'll get into a position where the contracts itself just don't really move really well. And that was kind of the case with this. So the move itself did pretty decent from 660 all the way down to 655. However, the contract value just didn't move. And I think it was just due to my pick that I made. I made a pick on 1 day to expire contracts that were about $10 out of the range, but essentially they were at the low of the day range. And so for me, I thought that was a good pick, but the market that felt otherwise. I played a big part into the contracts moving. But with that being said, let's talk about next week and what we can look to see happen going into next week. Other than this meta trade, after this day, I really didn't trade too much else this week. I just took some swings on SPY. And the reason I took swings on SPY actually was on this particular day. Let me go to SPY. Where's SPY? Let me pull it up. I took trades on SPY on this particular day because we had an initial breakdown, but then another reversal similar to Meta. And so same reasoning with Meta. I saw a failure come in on this initial opening bell here. I didn't take puts at this level. I wanted to see how the level responded, and it saw a strong breakout and reclaim of 680. And so once I saw that reclaim of 680, I just waited. I just waited out and wanted to see how the market was responding to the 684 and 685 levels as we started to move higher and higher. But we only got as high as 683.3 this day, and that was actually the retest of the daily EMA of the 21, I believe. So once I saw the strong reversal come in at that level, I just decided to take puts going into next week. And we saw a pretty quick reversal going back into the lows of this day at 676. So I saw a pretty good return going into the close of the session, already up about 60%, I believe. But I wanted to hold it out and see if we could see lower going into the remaining of the week, which we ended up seeing happen. Going into Wednesday, we saw a little bit of failure back below 675. And then on Thursday, we saw a failure back below 670, where we then went all the way back down to 666, and then a little bit lower than that later in the day. But then Friday, we broke down a little bit more, but then we bounced in the pre-market. As you guys see here, we went all the way down to 662, but saw a bounce back up into the pre-market, going up back to 672 range. And then we saw a reversal intraday on Friday, going back down after retesting 672. Reaching all the way back down there to 660 and closing out the day around 662. So we saw that initial failure that happened early in the week go up, back up to 683. Then from 683, we went all the way back down to 662. So we saw a really good return on our swings. And so I was pretty happy with that position that I took. And I really didn't feel the need to day trade. I was really just observing the charts day by day and just studying what the market was doing, just because we were having a lot of volatility these last few weeks, and I really wanted to take a step back and just kind of observe the market from a third person point of view and really understand what's going on. Sometimes you have to take a step back and get a full lens perspective on everything going on so you know how to move correctly in the coming weeks. So that's what we did. And so now we're going to talk about what to expect going into this week up ahead. Hey, what's going on, y'all? I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you guys are new, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Also, turn on the notification bell. And if you guys want to learn more about how to day trade, I have a free day trading course on my website at www.continuebelief.com. There you'll get all the information and resources needed to help you guys learn more on your journey to day trading. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get back to it. All right, and here we have the 4-hour chart loaded up on the SPY chart, ticker symbol SPY. So, as I mentioned as I previously just mentioned, we had a pretty aggressive sell coming into this week. And so we closed the week lower, and this is actually the lowest point of the year as of right now. Can we see lower is the question. In my mind, I think we can see lower only if we break 660. So what are the levels to watch going into this coming week? For me, the levels to watch are going to be between the 660 level and the 670 level. If we can hold above 660, we can see a possible reclaim of 670. If we get a reclaim of 670, we can then see a pushback up to 675. If we push above 675 or 676, we can then see push higher. However, if we can't hold above 660 going into the beginning of this week and we fail below 660, we could see lower. How much lower? We could see down possibly to 650 if we fail 655. And if we fail 650, then we can see back down to 646, which is that next level that I have charted. But it all comes down to whether or not we hold 660. So the levels to watch, as I mentioned, are going to be between 660 and 670. If we can hold 660, we can see a first test of 666. If we break back above 666, we can then see a retest of 670 to 668. If we break above those two levels, we can then see a push back up to 675 or 676. And if we reclaim that level, we could push even higher. However, if we fail 660, we can see a push back down to 655. From 655, we can see a push down to 650 if we fail 655. And then if we fail 650, we can see a push down to 646. So these are going to be the levels to watch going into next week. It all comes down to those two levels. And I'm just going back to kind of look at time and look at the way the market reacted. You can see the candles here, just how the market responded to these levels when being tested, that they have some pretty strong significance in the market. So those would be your levels to watch going into this week. Make sure you guys are trading safely. It's a very volatile season. I don't know how long this volatility will last. Could be weeks, could be months, who knows? So you just want to make sure to stay nimble on your approach. Take your profits when you see them. Don't get greedy in the market. Stick to a consistent goal. If that works for you, stick to a consistent goal. And just, stay afloat. Don't get overconfident in a market like this because it's very, very volatile. Anything can happen at any given moment. Any news report can come out at any given moment and make the market flip on your bias. And now the trade that you had that was up 30% can flip and go red 40%. So it's that kind of market. So you want to be very, very mindful of that. Be very nimble on your approach and just be very safe. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure if you guys are new to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. I will see you guys next week. Stay safe.